Okay, so here's what I've got, and I'll kind of give you a rundown on what this has cost me and why I've chosen these items. Alright, so I like Prego sauce. It's generally pretty cheap if you go to the box store to buy it, a couple of dollars. I generally always get, because sometimes I make bigger batches, I'll get one jar of traditional and another jar of meat flavor. But I'll explain here in a minute why I didn't get the meat flavor and I just got the traditional. And I like this because Prego in particular doesn't have that bitter taste that a lot of red sauces have, jarred red sauces or canned red sauces. The Barilla, I like Barilla a lot, and this oven ready lasagna is really nice. I mean, you don't have to boil any noodles, and obviously I'm not in a commercial kitchen, so I'm not making any noodles, but this stuff's really nice. It cooks up really nice. You don't have to pre-boil it. You just layer your lasagna and layer these on as they come out of the box, and it has always turned out really well for me. And it's cheap. I don't even think it's $2 a box. It might be, but if it is, it's not much over $2 a box. Italian mixed cheese. I like to go with a name brand Kraft. You can get it on sale for, you know, $2.99 at the store. I usually generally get it with a Philly touch to it. It melts down quite a bit smoother, it seems to me, and it's not as dry coming out of the package. Provolone, I layer provolone in because I like provolone cheese. Personal preference, you don't have to use it. I do. Generally you're going to have to get it through Sargento, which is a little more expensive. It's about $3 a package. But I have found you can go over to the deli in your store and they'll have provolone, and you could just get, like, you know, depending on how big a lasagna you're making, you could get 4 slices, you could get, you know, but if you get much up over 6 slices, you're going to spend the same as what you're going to spend for 12 in a package. So there's that for you. Here was my only issue making this. I don't use cottage cheese in my lasagna. Okay? I use ricotta. Now, for whatever reason, I don't understand this, I went to 5 different stores. They were all on my way home, so I wasn't going out of my way or anything to do this. Every one of those stores, which always has ricotta and never sells out of ricotta, were completely sold out of ricotta. Okay? I don't know if the people that make the stuff just quit making it because they don't sell enough of it and they wanted to spend their money selling things they knew they would sell quicker in the store. Anyways, I'm going to use cottage cheese this time. The problem with cottage cheese is it's so wet. Honestly, what I'll end up doing is draining it for quite a while, and then once I'm done draining it, I'm going to press the excess moisture out of it because I want it as dry as possible. If you've ever dealt with ricotta cheese, you know what I'm talking about. It's almost like a loose Philly cream cheese, so that's going to have to get broken down quite a bit. So right here, not including the meat, I've got, what do we got? $2, $4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's $12 right there. Okay, what I'm going to make tonight's going to feed 3 people, and 3 people with decent portions. So let me see here. Let me grab the meat real quick, and I'll show you what I got as far as the meat goes. You can do this one of 2 ways, alright? So I mix ground beef with ground pork. And so what I got was I got a pre-mix of 60% Boston burger and 60% beef, 40% pork, okay? It's a nice mix. The pork in there keeps the meat really moist so it doesn't dry out. It gives that good sausage pork flavor to it. Now, the other way you can do it, which I generally do instead, is I'll buy my meat separate from my pork. Get to be buddies with the butcher at your store. You know, he gives me Italian seasoning to make my own seasoning, and so that's the way I generally do it. But he wasn't there when I shopped, so I just went ahead because he mixes. That's exactly what he uses. when he makes this stuff. Now, I don't know what all stores have this. I know Harder House used to carry this. I know for a fact some of the price cutters do. The price cutter I go to at West Bypass and Chestnut always has this mix, and it's a good mix, and the butchers there are real good about their portions and how they mix it up. So every time you buy it, it's got the same flavor to it. It doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. The advantage to having this is if you like more seasoning, you know, you can put more of this in there. If you don't like as much, you can, you know, if you buy your own sausage, you can put less in there. It's just trial and error. Oops, trial and error is something you're gonna have to play with, figure out if you like it or not. So anyways, so we got 12, 13, 14, 15, that's $3.35, so there's 15 bucks right there, okay? That's all I need to make this, okay? So I've got 15 bucks tied up in a main course for 3 people. That's $5 a piece, and I'm gonna show you in a minute how easy this is to put together and make. It's a, you know, other than cooking up the meat, the rest of it is just layering and then throwing it in the oven for a half hour. So I'm telling you, this for $5 a person, this is the way to go. The only other expenditure you've got is making, if you want to make garlic bread, hey, you know, why go out and spend $3 or $4 for a loaf of garlic bread? You know, it's going to go in the oven and it's going to get heated up anyway, so buy either a loaf of day-old French bread from the store for 99 cents or $1.50 or however much it is. Or for that matter, if you've got a loaf of bread around the house, just get a couple of slices out and put some butter on it and put a little garlic on it and put it in the oven and toast it up. You're good to go. And that costs next to nothing, you know. That's I don't know, if you use sliced bread, you might have 2 or 3 cents tied up per slice to make that. Salads, if you want a salad, of course you got your expenditure there with a salad. But I'm telling you now, one serving of this with a slice or two of garlic bread, you're going to be full. Your family's going to be full, and they're going to feel good, filled up, and happy. So let's start putting this together and see what we come up with. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Alright, so I've got my cottage cheese draining, and I want as much moisture out of that as I can, so I'm going to let that drain while I'm cooking the meat here. You don't need a high heat because you really don't want to overcook the meat. All you want to do, sorry I walked away from the mic, all you want to do is just brown the meat. So, you know, you don't want to, because the problem is if you cook it too much, it's going to start, you know, getting that done crispiness to it, and you still want it to be nice and moist. And that's another reason why I use the pork meat. It helps to retain the moisture of the meat, which makes all the difference in flavoring. So I'm not going to put any salt, any pepper, no seasoning on this whatsoever, because there's already seasoning in the pork. So I'll let it cook real good, and another weird thing about me, I got in the habit of, when the kids were all little, I got in the habit of always having my handles turned to the inside. And now I've got a couple of little varmint heathen puppies running around that like to, when I'm not paying any attention, look up and jump up on things so they can figure out if there's anything that they can get into or eat or be mischievous with. So I always keep the handles turned in when I'm not standing right with the skillet or pan, whatever I'm using. So there's that. We'll keep cooking it. I'm going to go over and press a little bit of the moisture out of the cottage cheese, and this will be done here in a couple minutes. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so all the pink has gone out of the meat, and that's right where you want it. You don't want it to start browning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and, pardon me, I have taken the cottage cheese and pressed as much moisture as I could out. I probably got, I would guess, at least a half cup of moisture off the cottage cheese. So that's done. And now I've rinsed out my strainer that I use for the cottage cheese, and I'm going to take this meat and pour it in the strainer to get all this excess grease off of it, because man, one thing I hate more than anything is when you cut into a lasagna and it just goos with grease. To me, that's just nasty, and it falls apart. You know, my lasagna will stand up. You cut a piece out, it'll stand up on the plate, which is the way I personally like it. Some people might like it greasy. I'm not going to fault you for that, but it's not the way I like it, and it's not the way I make it, so I'm just showing you the way I make it. So, anyways, now that's done, so I'm going to take it over and drain all the moisture off of it, get all this grease off of it, and probably, in fact, I will rinse the meat off. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This time, I probably will, just because it looks like it's got quite a bit of excess grease, which is going to be on the surface. Now, that's not going to affect the interior of the pieces of meat, and the juiciness and flavor inside, because, you know, you get it, even a little piece of meat like that, you know, if I can pick this stupid thing up, you know, you got a piece of meat like that, even if you rinse the outside off, the inside's still got a lot of, you know, I'm pressing juice out of it. It's still got a lot of juice in it. So you don't need all that excess juice. That's just going to make it have a greasy taste to it. So I'm going to go strain this and rinse it, and then we'll start putting this thing together. So far, the only thing I've gotten dirty is a spatula, this skillet, and a strainer, and the bowl that I put the cottage cheese in. So, you know, easy cleanup too with the stuff I make. Alright, so we've got the meat. As you can see, it's strained and dried and all that grease taken off of it. Now here's what we want to do. And we're not going to use all of it, okay? So we're going to take some of this pasta sauce, and I want to reserve quite a bit of this. All I want is just enough to add moisture to the meat, and that's it, okay? I don't want the meat swimming in this stuff, so we don't use a whole lot. And I need to, real quick here while I'm thinking about it, preheat my oven to 375. Got that done, okay. So, sorry, I'm a little messy when I do this, really. Like I said, you don't want a lot on here. You just kind of want it to coat the meat so that the meat of the sauce infuses the meat of the sauce. The sauce infuses into the meat. There. That makes more sense. And my dog just kicked my tripod, so that's what that was all about. We didn't have an earthquake or anything, thankfully. Not that we do around here much, but you know, one of these days, that fault line over there in eastern Missouri is going to cut loose. It's well overdue, so you know, we have that to look forward to too. Alright, okay, so you can kind of see here, I really haven't put very much sauce in here at all. You know, just enough to make sure I've coated all the meat. And I've got the stove top on. I'm going to cut it way down to simmer, just enough to keep this kind of warm. That looks good. Alright, cover it up so it doesn't lose any moisture. And get ready and start building this thing here momentarily.